Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for everyone to come in this room. It's crowded, so it's really cool. Today we are going to speak to you about Symfony 2 at BlaBlaCar and how we scale for 25 plus million members in 22 countries with Symfony 2. First of all, I'm Ben. I'm at BlaBlaCar for 2 years and I'm a lead engineer.
And I'm Oliver, and I work for BlaBlaCar since more than 4 years now.
Okay, and for those who don't know BlaBlaCar, basically we are a ride-sharing company. We put people in relation to split the cost of a ride. If someone wants to spend, will spend 100 euros in a trip, he will take 3 people with him to spend 25 each, and then it will be cooler for him to not spend his money. We started in 2009 with no members, and now we have more than 25 million members in last year, and now I think we are over 35 million, so it's quite a huge traffic. And basically now we are going to talk about Symfony and what we do with it at BlaBlaCar. We are going to present you from what we came, the version 1, the version 2. Why did we choose Symfony for the third version of the website, and what we did with it to scale to the website we are now. Then we are going to present you some traps that we fell in and what we are doing right now with BlaBlaCar.
But to start, let's talk about the past. As I work for BlaBlaCar since more than 4 years now, I was here near the beginning, and as you can imagine, we didn't start directly with a Symfony 2 application. The first version have been built by Frédéric Mazola, which is the PDG, CTO, the founder of BlaBlaCar. And I don't know if you know Mambo, but it's the ancestor of Joomla, so it's very old. And today we still have some related stuff to Mambo. For example, we have some tables in our database which are prefixed by MOS. Like Mambo OS. So here it is, the first version of BlaBlaCar. As you can guess, it was just a POC, just to test that everything can work. And very quickly, Francis, which is the actual CTO of BlaBlaCar, built another version, this time in raw PHP, and we kept this version during more than 5 years. Here it is. It's a bit better than the previous one, but still it's not very beautiful. With this version, so version 2, we opened quite a lot of countries, 3 of them, Spain, UK and Italy. And we reached 1 million members with the second version. So even if it wasn't perfect, it worked very well. Here is an example of what we had in this second version. We had one PHP file with near 4,000 lines. And as you can see, 69 functions, and one of this function was near 1,000 line length. I'll let you imagine when you have to update this function. Of course, it was a nomad framework, if we can call this a framework, and obviously, no test. That's why we finally decided to work on the V3. So we were 3 to work on it, a bit more after, but we started this third version with 3 people. It was based on Symfony 2, of course. That's why we are here. And today, it looks like this. So we still have this version in production today, since 2011. We opened, of course, a lot of new countries, as you can see. Today, we are present in 22 countries. And yeah. And why did we choose Symfony? For a lot of reasons. First of all, for the community, because as you can see, there is a very huge community around the Symfony framework. And it was it was a reason to choose this framework. We really would like to embrace best practices, and as you probably know, in Symfony, there is a lot of things which are very great. For example, they try to respect a lot of PSI rules, and they try to have a very clean code, etc., etc. So it was the opportunity to try to have a beautiful code inside BlaBlaCar too. The goal was also to attract new people, because Symfony 2 is a very well-known framework, which is really used, and it was an argument to attract new people. So now, let's see how.
Okay, so how did we scale to that big of a website we are today with Symfony? I'm going to start to talk about how we handle the 22 countries at BlaBlaCar. So we have 3 questions. Like, we could have done one code base for each country. So we have 22 repositories with the same BlaBlaCar code to maintain. It would have been a pain to maintain everything, because everybody knows that you don't duplicate code everywhere to maintain it each time you want to modify something. We could have put hard-coded condition everywhere in the code. Like, okay, if you are in Ukraine, you have this kind of text. If you are in France, you have this kind of text. It would have been a pain too to maintain. And the last choice was configuration and context based on the URL you land with on BlaBlaCar. And so, of course, the last choice was the good one, because it will be the simpler and easiest to maintain and implement. So basically what we did, each time someone lands on BlaBlaCar, it goes to the Symfony parser, which parses the request, and then we have a listener that is listening to every request there is on the website. And in this listener, we just choose the correct configuration we want based on the URL the guy have. Like, if he's on the API, if he's on the web mobile, and if he's with the .ua, it will land on the Ukrainian website. If he's with the .fr, it will land on the French website, and then we will load all the configuration related to this country, all the specific stuff. And then it goes to the basic Symfony flow, and we send the response to the guy. The configuration is one file for each country, a big YAML file with over 100 keys. We configure every time we want to open a new country, which is kind of long, but it's just a needed step. We have inheritance with default configuration. If you do not want to override this for a new country, you don't. And we also manage the metadata and the toggling of features inside. If we want the Facebook Connect, the VK Connect, or no connect, it's like you can do it directly in the configuration. And then we deploy everything, and everything is live on the website. A configuration file looks like that. You cannot really see it, but it's just a YAML file with a lot of configuration, like the time zone, the email for the reply, and all kind of stuff. So the configuration, we overrided we extended a new class of the controller, the default one of Symfony, on which we have added the method getConfig, which is pretty simple because it's only do a get inside the service container to get the main config service, which is an array and an array access, and we just take the key we want and return it. And we can also do it in the view, which is pretty easy because we can directly from the view of the context of the website and include some templates given on the configuration we have. So it's basically like that, just a if with the configuration service. Oh, and we can do stuff like this with the service. As you can see on the Polish website, which is on the left, we have the Facebook Connect and the email Connect. And on the Mexican website, because of some product reason, I think, we don't have the email Connect and we only have the Facebook one. The second step is when we have a lot of code, how do we manage event and cascade of events, like when you create something. In Symfony, there is a great thing, which is the event dispatcher, which is dispatching event. So it works like that. You have an event, you just throw it to the event dispatcher, and it will take care of itself to dispatch the event inside your application. So you have to register some listener that will listen to a specific event, and then the event will be transmitted to this listener in a synchronous way. and you will be able to execute some dedicated code inside. For example, if the user A rates the user B, we will have a new rating event, which will be sent to the event dispatcher, and we have the listener for the grade of the people. If he's a newbie on the website and he receives a new rating, it will be, for example, promoted as an expert. And same stuff for the user B. So with the event, we are able to recalculate the grade of the guy, and we are also able to send the rating to the moderation flow because we don't want the user to be rough with each other. So we have to check the content of the rating. The sending an event is pretty straightforward. In everything, you get the event dispatcher, which is a service inside Symfony, and you dispatch the event with the name and an object linked to it. To listen to the event, you register your listener, like I did for the moderation one, and you just tag it with the kernel.event_subscriber tag. And the listener is just a class in which you register the event you want to listen to, and then you just add a method name on which the Symfony event dispatcher will throw the event. It's just an array returning method's name for a specific given key, which is the event name. There is some pro and some cons for dispatching events. It's perfect to decouple your code inside the app because you will have some events triggered by one place impacting almost everything without having a lot of methods calls in the manager. For example, when you create a new rating, you can do some small listeners that are easy to understand and easy to test, and also easy to maintain because it's small and it's dedicated. And it's easy to dispatch events outside the application with that stuff. And I'm going to talk to you about it in 1 minute. Sometimes one of the downside of the dispatching event, it's really hard to follow the flow. If you have one event that is listening, that is listed by I'd say 20 listeners, and everything is doing some stuff with it, you are really lost, and sometimes it might bug, and you are going to have a hard time to debug everything. And you also need to be really rigorous with all the rules because you don't want to have 10 kinds of different listeners that are working not in the same way. You really want to have the same stuff everywhere in the app. And one last thing, in the listener you should avoid using entities like Doctrine entities. You should keep them small and dedicated to be able to maintain and to move them. And you should also limit dependencies, like you want them to be working alone. So, the high traffic. With 25 million members, we have sometimes huge peak of traffic, and we have, along the day, just traffic is rising until the 5 p.m. in the afternoon, and then the website might become slow if you do not do anything for it. So, we have a problem. The response time is way too high, and we're sad. So, what do? All the side tasks, if they can be done asynchronously, we do them asynchronously. Basically, if we want to, send an email, we don't have to build everything like the template, the email, the connection, everything to send it to the email provider. We just want to say, okay, send me an email, and it will send the email somewhere in the universe. So, what did we need to do is to find a tool to transmit the messages, the event, and to create some workers to listen to them, to do the action, to do everything, and use the event dispatcher because we are already using it for a lot of stuff, and we just want to do all the stuff we do related to the event asynchronously to relieve the main app from all the load it has when we have a huge peak of traffic. So, we decided to use RabbitMQ, which is a message broker. It's a well-known message broker. It's working pretty well. It's in Erlang, it's fine. Sometimes it crashes, but it's fine. Why? Because of the performance and the job splitting. RabbitMQ is really good at dispatching message, which is great because it was made for it. And we can have a lot of queues listening to a lot of events, and it's great because that's what we want to do. So we choose RabbitMQ. To speak with RabbitMQ, we have this library, which is open source and made by Olivier. So it's great because Olivier was working with us. And we just wanted to dispatch event with the event dispatcher, as I just showed you. So we keep the same code, like I have my event dispatcher, and I dispatch an event for the trip. Like, for example, my trip is updated, so I just dispatch the event, and we decorated the event dispatcher of Symfony to add our own logic. Like, okay, we want to dispatch a new event into RabbitMQ, so we are just going to check if RabbitMQ configuration supports this kind of event, and then if it does, we publish it into RabbitMQ. And the main application doesn't care. Like, it's okay, I just send it the event, I don't know what happens, I don't know what happens after, and I'm just going to be fine with it, it's fine, I'm fine, everything's fine. And then we keep the normal flow of dispatching the event inside the app to avoid breaking anything existing, and sometimes we do not want to do some asynchronous stuff, so we keep the normal flow. For example, when I want to send an email, I'm just building the new email class, which contains the name and the template of the email, and I call a publisher, which is publishing the email. So it will dispatch the email inside RabbitMQ on a specific exchange and a specific routing key, which are used to route message into the specific queues. And the email will be built using a worker later on, with the context we provided with the email, like the user ID I just sent with it. Would be used to build all the context needed for building the email without the main app having to build all the data, all the template beforehand. It's just like, okay, I just want to send the email, send it, thank you. And what is great and what is bad with asynchronous event, of course, it's perfect to decouple the code outside the app. Like, you have many apps to maintain, and so everything is dedicated to its own task. You can have small workers, which are easy to understand, easy to develop, easy to deploy. It's easy to dispatch events outside the application because of the event dispatcher. You have separate projects and separate deployments. You don't have to deploy your main app, which might take 30 minutes to deploy. You deploy a small app, which takes 1 minute to deploy. And it's scalable because you can deploy a lot of workers at the same time. You can deploy a lot of numbers of the same worker without impacting anything. The downside is the learning curve. When you come in the worker on asynchronous world, like, you just don't understand anything. It's like, okay, I have this app that is talking to this one with the message broker, and what is this app doing? I don't know. I have to check it. And you have to check almost everything. You have to find the mapping between all the events that are now transmitted through RabbitMQ. And it's pretty long to have a map of every worker we have. And it's also impossible to maintain. That's why we don't have a map. Like, we just do everything by hand. You need tools to monitor everything, because it's not just one simple app, web app anymore. It's a lot of small apps running around, so you have to be sure that they are not crashing. And of course, you still need rules to keep the worker in the same shape to avoid difference between everything. Right now, we have 129 workers, which are used for everything: push notification, trip publication on BlaBlaCar, payment, alerts, SMS, and a lot of stuff. Like, we do almost everything we can asynchronously to have the website as light as possible. And what we did with the worker, of course, we kept it in PHP. We use supervisor to run them and to check the state. What we did at first, it was a Symfony command inside the main app, so everything was in the same code base. It was a mess, like a huge mess. And what we did after is standalone apps with dedicated repository with Symfony components, which make our life easier. And what is good with Symfony workers, you have access to entity, you have access to everything you have already done because you are in Symfony, but it's also bad because you are in Symfony. You are in the main web app, which is not a specific worker. You have to bring with you an entire Symfony, like the template, like everything, but you just wanted to run a CLI app. It's deployed along the website. So basically, if you just want to update a worker that is running bad, you have to update the whole website. Like, okay, I just broke a worker that is sending SMS, so you have to deploy BlaBlaCar again. It's a pretty bad choice, and it's not the main goal of Symfony, and it's pretty high on the memory usage. And the standalone workers, on their side, they are dedicated, so that's what we want. It's maintainable because it's really small. It's deployed independently, and it's easily created, tested, and stuff. So it's, I think, the paradise for us. And the downside is that you have to extract components you have on the website inside separate component repository to have them available inside your workers, which can be time-consuming, but it's still I think it's a good stuff. It's a good way to do because you then have the almost same logic in the component with the website and the apps, the workers that are inside the app. But you need more monitoring because you have a lot of workers and you have a lot of different process. And now Olivier is going to talk to you about Doctrine.
Thanks. Before starting, I would like to say it's not a troll. Everything I will say about Doctrine is just my own opinion. This afternoon, Marco gave a talk about Doctrine, and he gave a lot of tricks if you want to play with Doctrine. Of course, when we started the V3, we didn't follow any of those tricks. So, in my opinion, Doctrine is very, very good if you want to code fast, because you just have to map your entities, and that's all. You can play with them, you can do everything you want very easily. So it's very fast to code with Doctrine. That's why we started with Doctrine. I'm talking about Doctrine ORM, not DBAL, because ORM. But even if you code fast, it doesn't mean you code well. Why? Let's take a simple example. This one. We have a manager. That's cool. I can retrieve the entity manager and can ask for the user repository, and I can retrieve a user. That's easy, and I have the user object, and I can use it directly. That's really, really easy. And I would like to use it in a view. So here it is. I have, for example, here a rating. So I have a rating entity in my view. But as you can see, I'm doing something which is absolutely not good. A rating.from.username. It means here I will make a query inside the view, because in my rating entity, for now, I don't have any relation with my user. I have a relation, but Doctrine didn't make the query to retrieve the user. So here, I will have one query per rating, so it can grow very, very quickly. Of course, it's not a good practice, so you can avoid this very easily, but still. It's very hard to control the cache strategy, because here it's Doctrine which is responsible of retrieving your entity. So you can't, it's very hard to hack Doctrine to tell him, okay, I would like to store my entities inside a memcache server, for example, but I would like to store them this way, not your usual way. And last but not least, you don't have any integrated check. And as we didn't change our database in the beginning, it means we have a lot of tables which are more than near 10 years old. So it means we have a lot of craps in your DB. For example, it's not impossible to retrieve a rating inside the database, to try to retrieve the user who left the rating, and this user doesn't exist. So here with Doctrine, you have a huge exception, and you can do anything to avoid this. So Doctrine, for me, it's cool for a small project. If you want to poke something, that's perfect, go for it. But if you want to scale with a huge website, you have to take care. It's not impossible with Doctrine, of course, because there is a lot of big websites which use it. But there is a lot of problem you have to address. It's hard to respect MVC because it's very easy to make a query inside the view. It's hard to deal with cache if you want to implement your own cache, etc., etc. As I said, integrity, it's a pain to deal with Doctrine. It's not made to decouple code because as soon as you start to use Doctrine, you will add a lot of relation everywhere. Even if Marco said you should not add, for example, a bidirectional association relation, sorry. Of course, we did it a lot. So for me, that's why Doctrine is not made for scale. Today, we still use it because we have a huge code base, so we can't avoid it right now. But in all our small workers, for example, we don't have Doctrine. We just use raw SQL because we have really simple needs, so it's really easy to address in pure SQL. During the development of the latest version, of course, we fell in a lot of traps. I will talk about some of them right now. I don't know if there is a lot of people who knows Symfony 2 here, but the main class of Symfony is app kernel. Everything starts with the kernel. Its goal is just to deal with everything. You will just start a kernel, and then you will be able to deal with request and response. At the beginning, we had a very special use case. We wanted to be able to deal with some white brands. For example, we had some partnerships with IKEA, for example. So there were a dedicated car sharing platform for IKEA. That's why we had a brilliant idea. Here is the kernel by default. You have two parameters, the environment and are you in debug or not. And our idea was to change the kernel, to add two more parameters, so the branding and the media. Because it looks like very great. So you start a kernel which is dedicated to IKEA, with the configuration which is specific to IKEA, and only for mobile. It looks like something great, but it's not. We had a lot of troubles with this, particularly for everything which is related to asynchronous, because each time you start a worker, you're stuck on branding and the media. You can't change it easily. You have to shut down the whole application and to start it again. Anyway, just never touch at the Symfony kernel. Something we still have trouble with. Putting everything in the same place, it's really dangerous. Today, we'll see later a bit more about our V3, actually. But there is everything inside. It means we have the website, of course. We also have the mobile version. We also have the administration. And we still have some workers which are running inside the main application. We also have a lot of batch. So we have a kind of a big code base which is doing everything. Don't do this. I love this picture. Here it is. This is our application, and here is our business code. Everything is inside. You can't do anything with this. You have only one application, everything is inside, and you can split it easily. Let's say you want to create a dedicated application, or I don't know, a dedicated worker to deal with a business need. You can't, because as soon as you will start to take a look at the code, to know how a trip is published, for example, good luck. You will start here, and you will have the whole application with you. That's why, even if you put a lot of things inside the same application, try to always isolate your business code. Even if the same repository, we don't care, just use another folder, I don't know, but just isolate your business code and try to build it in order to be able later to use it anywhere. Maybe inside another application, I don't know. Today we have everything in the same place, all application, all business code, and we override a lot of things inside Symfony 2. Symfony 2, as all frameworks, is just a tool. That's why don't mess with your tools. Use it as is. Don't try to override everything because there is a little things which is not working as you expect. Just deal with it and try to find another way to achieve your need, but don't override everything. I show you what we try to achieve with the kernel, and we did this in a lot of places inside of Symfony 2. Today, we use the 2.6 version, 2.7, but it's always a pain to upgrade because we overrided a lot of things. Another problem we had, it's newcomers. It's a pain, it was at least a pain, to explain to all newcomers how it works inside the application. Because it's really big, there is everything in it. You can't explain the whole business code, otherwise it's just impossible. And as we overrided a lot our framework, there were a lot of specific rules only for us. So even someone which is already fine with Symfony 2 had trouble to work with our application. And that's why today we improved a lot our process. So we have a really clear onboarding where you can see a lot of things during the onboarding. Yeah. And we made a lot of documentation. I know it's boring. Nobody liked documentation. In fact, everyone liked documentation, which is already here, but nobody wants to create documentation. But yeah, that's the truth. So yeah, we fell in traps, but of course, we had parachutes. Even today, we still have a lot of problems with our V3 because it's 5 years old now, so there is a lot of code, etc., etc. But yeah, still we are looking for a solution. So problem solved. Use Symfony only as a tool. Today, it's forbidden in our team to override something in Symfony 2. At least you can do it. Well, you can do it, but you have to ask the opinion of a lot of people. We worked a lot on the onboarding to have a lot of people who are comfortable with our application when they arrived at BlaBlaCar. We try to decouple everything with components, so it can be a dedicated application, for example, for workers, for batches. But for all those applications, we still have some common needs. For example, we want to be able to send an email from the website and from a worker. So that's why we have a component which is used by several applications. But today, we still have a one big application and we lack of documentation, as nobody wants to write it. Here and now. So today, here is our application. We have more than 40,000 commits. Yeah. So that's huge. That's more than the double of Symfony, for example. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a number, but it's just to show how big is our application. We have 500,000 of line of sorry, start again. We have more than 500,000 of non-commented line of code. So it's really a line of code. That's huge again, and nobody inside the company, inside the tech team, know everything inside the application. At the beginning, it was cool because we were a few people, and everyone was aware of everything, so it was perfect. Today, just impossible. We need 20 minutes to run all unit and functional tests. In fact, it's way more like this because we use a CI tool, and we split all our tests in 5. Okay. So we have five dedicated machines which run tests in parallel. And we still need 20 minutes. We need near 30 minutes to deploy the application, because we need to deploy it on a lot of we need to deploy a lot of containers because we are using containers everywhere. And yeah, that's a pain to wait for your application to be deployed. So it's too big, as I said. It's way too big. But as I said, we are working on it. We have a lot of solutions, as I say, components, dedicated application, etc., etc. So we have the solution, but we need you to implement it. And we are here. So if you want to join BlaBlaCar, don't hesitate. And thank you. Awesome.
Are there any questions? Yeah? There, please.
So the question is very simple. BlaBlaCar is kind of a site that should be up all the time. So with a synchronous approach, what usually happens is that you, for example, you change the code inside the event so that it has now different serialization or unserialization. And what usually happens, you deploy your new application, so the new code is already there, but the message queue still contains old serialized messages. How you deal with that?
Basically, we try to never introduce some breaking changes inside the message, but sometimes we do, and for the time being of the queue not being empty with all the old message, we have like a temporary state of the worker, which is going to handle both the new and the old one. And when the queue is empty, it's like a matter of minutes. You just release new code to the worker, and it will be fine.
Yeah, the rule is you should never have a worker which is able to deal with only one version of the event. If you introduce a new version, your worker have to be able to deal with the previous one and the new one. And once everything is migrated, you can remove the duplicated code.
Okay, thank you guys for really good speech. My question is, I'm really curious how it's to manage so large project like BlaBlaCar. And the question is, what, for example, testing strategy you are using before deploying? I saw that you have unit functional test, and do you have any acceptance test which are running before the deploy? And if you have, are there some tricks with testing so sophisticated code? I mean, there are a lot of async things, and there are a lot of ways where something can go wrong because of its async.
Okay. There is several applications, and we have unit tests for all of them. Generally, tests are written in PHP, with PHP unit, for example. Each time you want to deploy an application, you have to write tests, of course. You have to merge your branch and master. Here, our CI will run all tests for your applications. If everything is fine, it will push your code on a stable branch. And once it's on a stable branch, you can deploy this branch only. It's the same for the whole application, the V3. But we run only PHP tests. We also have some BIAT tests, and we don't run them before deploying, because otherwise it will take, I don't know, maybe 1 hour. It's just impossible to wait so long. And we don't have any tests across all applications, except BIAT1, of course. For example, when you publish a trip on BlaBlaCar, there is a message which is sent to RabbitMQ, and we have a dedicated worker which is here to process it. With BIAT, it's really easy to publish a trip, wait for it, okay, check it, my trip is here, it's fine. And it means the worker worked correctly. But inside the application, it's just impossible to write manually tests like this, so we don't do it, in fact.
Okay, so as I understood that no tests like Selenium with browser.
Yeah, we use BIAT for this. Selenium, yeah. Well, Selenium is a tool to write tests and run them inside your browser. And BIAT allow you to write tests directly. For example, as a user, I want to be able to publish a trip, etc., etc. So it's the same, and it can be run on a Windows machine only, but with Firefox, Chrome, etc., etc. And you have several tests we can run when we want.
And we are also using humans directly, like we have people testing stuff for us, which is the QA team, and they're testing on a staging environment which use the production database with the code we just written, and if everything is fine there, we put it in production with the code we did.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, thank you for the speech. I have one question. Your application contains a scheduled job, and who adds these jobs in queue?
Can you repeat, please? Didn't understand at the end.
Your application contains scheduled jobs. Yes. Who adds these jobs in queue of RabbitMQ?
Okay. RabbitMQ is updated by a repo we have containing all the configuration of every queue. If we had, for example, a new command that will run every day at 1 a.m., we just have to add it before to RabbitMQ, and it will be live in seconds inside the configuration. And the stuff that is the command that will run at 1 a.m. will publish everything into RabbitMQ with a specific exchange routing key to then be done by the right worker job.
And the command is scheduled with a basic cron tab.
Yeah.
You save your jobs in Doctrine?
Yeah, we have a lot of job in Amazon.
Okay, thank you.
Hi. My question about workers and tasks. What about your task is broken? Data is broken and task is failed. How do you show error by for user or status of task?
For users, we don't care because everything which is done by under RabbitMQ could impact the user, but it's only asynchronous. It means as soon as you want to do something with the broker, you know that it can be in 1 second, or maybe in 10, maybe in 3 minutes, you don't know. And to avoid failure, we use Swarot, and you can configure a number of retries. For example, we try, as soon as we have a failure, we wait, let's say, 30 seconds, because maybe something is not updated somewhere, and we try again. And at the end, if we still have failures, we keep the message, and we can manually try to consume it.
Okay, thank you.